A 4-wicket win for the West Indies in the first Test match, followed by a comprehensive 113-run win for the English team in the second Test. What that has done is set up the third and the final Test perfectly for us. It's the series decider between England and West Indies. In the next few minutes, we'll take a look at all the important things that you need to watch out for. You're watching Maruti Suzuki Desire presents ESPNcricinfo Match Day. Joining me as always is Ganga. We'll be taking a look at 5 things that you really need to watch out for in this Test match between England and West Indies. And we'll start with our point number 5. And that is, who has the edge going into the decider? Now, that's a $1 million question. Now, remember, West Indies are looking for their first series win in England since 1988. And if England, on the other hand, are to win the series, this will only be the 5th instance of them winning a 3-match Test series after losing the first match of the series. The last time it happened was in 2008 and 2001, and before that you'd have to go even before the time of Don Bradman to figure out when that happened. That's 1882 and 1888. Okay, Darren, coming to you. I know both teams have a lot to gain now because this is the decider, but would it be fair to say that pressure might be more on England for 3 reasons? One, they're playing at home, so the pressure of winning at home. Secondly, they haven't done really well in the last 5 Test series that they've played, winning only 1. So that pressure. And then they are the ones who've got to win it. For West Indies, a draw is enough then to keep this trophy.
Yes, I think you're right in saying that there is a bit of pressure on England, but I think there's a lot more pressure on the West Indies because of what transpired in that second Test match. The perennial problem for the West Indies is the fact that their batting never seems to carry on. So they get starts and they can't carry on. Again, they have a bowling unit that has been used twice in the space of 13 or 14 days. So there are some weary legs on the West Indian side. Those are things that they will have to look at and make the right decisions going into this third Test match.
You talk about the questions that West Indies would be looking for answers for, and one of them is going to be why West Indies should look to bat first. This is exactly what they didn't do in the second Test match. Now remember, they chose to bowl first after winning the toss at Old Trafford in the second Test match, which was a bit of a surprise, since teams have largely batted first there. Also because West Indies don't tend to do that well after winning the toss and fielding first. Take a look at the stat then, and this is their record, fielding first after winning the toss. These are Test matches since Jan 2016. Out of the 10 that they've played, a winning percentage of only 30%. Now, do you think it's going to be once bitten, twice shy? That would be the approach of the West Indies, no matter what the conditions, overcast or not?
Well, hindsight is always something that you've got to take very cautiously. I think, like I've said before, statistics, they're there to guide players and teams. And I don't think the West Indies relied a lot on that stat that you just mentioned there, Nikhil, in terms of batting first at Old Trafford. The distinctive thing about these 2 teams, England, they've been able to take their starts and convert into big scores. And that has been the difference. Yes, you've had about 8 half centuries from the West Indies, but no one really filling their boots and putting their team into a position of strength with the bat.
Interesting. You talk about the biggest difference between the 2 teams is the batting order and the lack of experience thereof as far as the West Indies team is concerned. But we're going to take a look at England's bowling attack because there lies in a big headache for the team management. And what should be England's pace attack for the third Test match? Now, England, remember, had 2 completely different sets of pace bowlers in this series. One thing is for certain that we're not going to have a fresh attack. You're going to have some sort of an overlap. Interestingly, the English coach has come out and said that they'll be looking to go with the best possible bowling attack. So they're going to set aside that whole policy of, rotating their bowlers. Darren, what do you think in your mind is the pecking order as far as the English pace attack is concerned at the moment?
Well, like I said, it's a good headache for the England selectors to have when you have 2 sets of bowlers in full form. I think Stuart Broad, on what was said in his interview after that first Test match, with him being left out, he's proven himself. 6 wickets in that second Test match just shows his value to this England side. So I'm sure that Stuart Broad will be in that third Test match. Jofra Archer by virtue of him breaking that sort of protocol, was not included in that second test match. I expect that him will be back into this England side. So it will be a judgment call. Ben Stokes, he's been carrying the weight of bowling. He's the leading wicket taker for this England side. So he will form part of that unit. And then it will be a call between, I would think, Wokes, Anderson, and even Wood as well. These are the guys who are going to be in contention. But I think those three, Archer, Broad, and Ben Stokes, they will definitely be in that England bowling lineup.
Just a word on Jofra Archer, Darren. He broke that bio bubble, wasn't allowed to play the second test match. Should he consider himself a bit fortunate because now he's allowed to play the final test, because we've seen players receive much severe sanctions for lesser transgressions before this?
Yeah, I think it's been a topical issue. It's been something that he's received a lot of criticisms for. No player wants to do that on purpose. I doubt that that was an intentional thing on the part of Jofra Archer. Definitely for England, it was a big sort of risk for them going into that second test match just prior to the game and getting this information and having to make the adjustment. Luckily for England, they were able to get a good result. But yes, I think Jofra Archer might consider himself lucky if you want to take the positive from that situation. He's had the chance to get, 8 days of rest. He will have fresh legs for that third test match. As a fast bowler, they will always tell you that rest is always very good. It gives them a chance to sort of rekindle their form, to get their energy levels high, and to give their best for their team. So on that note, I think it will be positive for England. He's had a chance to see his team win, so that England team as a collective will be a lot more confident going into this third test match.
Okay, let's turn our attention now to point number 2. Now, if England have the tough task of picking their pace attack for West Indies, the question for West Indies now is, will the West Indies team drop Hope and Campbell? Now, that's the point that we'd be discussing. But before I get Darren's thoughts, let's quickly listen in to the coach, Phil Simmons. This is what he had to say at the end of that second test, where he talks about considering changes to the top order.
Hi, Phil. A couple of your top order batsmen, Campbell and Hope, haven't really fired this series. Have you seen enough from them to keep faith with them for the third test?
Well, it's something that we have to discuss over the next couple of days and make a decision as to which direction we go there. I think you're right, they haven't fired, so we've got to take that into consideration over the next couple of days.
And I think you mentioned before the first test that you would consider adding players from the reserve squad for the third test. Is that something that you're considering?
Well, we'll have to consider that. We'll have to take that into consideration in our deliberations over the next couple of days. As you said, some people hasn't fired.
Dan, just taking a look at the average of both Hope and Campbell, they're averaging 13 and 14 respectively in the 4 innings that they played in this series. But is it again fair to say that Shai Hope may be under a bit more pressure than Campbell?
Indeed. I mean, take nothing away. Shai Hope is quite good as a batsman. You've seen him dominate in white ball cricket, and it's very unfortunate that West Indies doesn't have a Shai Hope that is in really good form. There's been long periods of lull in terms of production of runs for Shai Hope. I just feel that sometimes you've got to make a call on a player who's playing in a series that is so compact, to take him out, to get him and give him an opportunity for him to refresh his mind, get his form back, and to get going again. By no means, if he's left out of this test match, that will be the end of Shai Hope's test career. This West Indian team in this format requires a performing number 3 batsman. Over the last year and a half, we've seen the West Indian team use different persons in that position. Shamar Brooks has been used at number 3 on debut against India. Darren Bravo is another player who is used there. Shai Hope hasn't been consistently batting at number 3. What I think a lot of West Indians would like to see is a performing number 3 batsman that is given the role to bat in that position for an extended period of time, so that they can settle and produce the goods for the West Indies. When you look at John Campbell as well, it doesn't help when you have one of your openers and your number 3 not performing. He is a little more flashy. He is a risk taker at the top of the innings. And when you're playing in England as an opener, it's not so easy. It's always going to be a risky and difficult proposition. So John Campbell is slowly finding his feet. He's still very new to Test match cricket. I think that he still has a future in the game, but I think he should be persisted with for this third test match.
All right, they need a Darren Ganga sort of approach, opening the innings in England, right? Shoulder your arms, stay on there, stick on the crease, runs will come. Okay, and the final point that we're looking at, can West Indies find an answer to Ben Stokes? And probably the answer to this question might just answer who's going to win this series, because that's how crucial Ben Stokes has been. Mr. Incredible is what Joe Root calls him now. He's leading the batting and the bowling charts for the series and has contributed in every way. We're taking a look at most runs this series, and he's right on top with 370 at an average of 114. That's incredible. Most wickets this series, he's tied with Shane and Gabriel. But remember, Gabriel got all those wickets in the first test match. Ben Stokes with 9 at an average of 16.33. Darren, I mean, just talking about Ben Stokes, we saw him pull up in the middle of that over while he was bowling. Don't know about his fitness at the moment, but he's clearly overworked. You'd have to say that looking at the amount of cricket that he's been playing and the amount of time he's been spending in the ground. Do you play him or rest him, considering series are coming up, against Pakistan? There's a series against Ireland. What would you do?
Surely, if I was Joe Root, I will be playing Ben Stokes, because he's been such an instrumental figure in this England side. That second test match win had a lot to do with Ben Stokes and his ability with bat and ball. Now, you look at Ben Stokes, he's got this uncanny ability to seize the critical moments in a cricket match. You look at him and the manner in which he's performed with the bat, exactly when England required him to do so. And then with the ball, he is a game changer as well. Don't talk about his athleticism in the field. So he is the ideal cricketer for you. If you're a captain looking to play an opposition and to get the better of him, you would want a Ben Stokes there. So all credit to him in the manner in which he's performed. You can tell that he is a big match player, and there are few players in world cricket that has the ability like Ben Stokes to flip a game on its head. And he's proving that he is that type of player. And he is a real asset for this England side going into the third test match. And England will not risk giving that Wisden Trophy or letting that Wisden Trophy remain with the West Indies. Ben Stokes will definitely be in that 11 for England in the third test.
All right, Darren, we'll leave it at that. Reminder, test match starts on Friday, and England needs a win to regain, while a draw is good enough for West Indies to retain the Wisden Trophy. You are watching Maruti Suzuki Desire presents ESPN Cricinfo Matchday.